U.S. Congress and other U.S. officials have urged Pakistan to release Raymond Davis, and there have been reports in the U.S. media saying that if they do not release him, it will have a negative impact on a trilateral conference of Pakistan, Afghanistan, and the United States scheduled later this month in Washington. It can also affect a $1.5 billion assistance package for Pakistan, and it can also delay President Zardari's visit to Washington.
Yeah, there's no doubt that U.S. politicians are looking to use that threat, financial penalties against Pakistan if they don't release Davis. What do you make of this case? The fact that on the 25th of January, he wasn't on a list of U.S. diplomats presented by the American embassy to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Pakistan, and yet, interestingly, his name figured prominently on a list that was delivered again on the 28th of January.
That is true. I mean, I also went through his visa at the embassy, and it only said that purpose of visit official. It does not say whether he was a diplomat or not, although he had a diplomatic passport. But I think this is no more about the merits and demerits of the case. I mean, the Americans also have some points when they say that this man is an employee of the U.S. Embassy and therefore they should let him go. And the Pakistanis have a point too, as you explained, that the diplomatic status was only given after this case. And there are other cases. I mean, the Pakistanis are looking into the Vienna Convention, whether a person who kills someone is also allowed to enjoy this immunity or not. But I think it's no more about the merits and demerits of this case. I think, personally, if you ask me, Pakistan is not in a position to hold him for a very long period. They will ultimately have to let him go. America is a very close ally. America provides a lot of assistance to Pakistan. America has a lot of influence in Pakistan, so they will have to let him go. But letting him go is not that easy. It will have huge political repercussions for the government, which is already a very unpopular government. So I think it is very difficult for both sides. Also, it will be difficult for the Americans to stop this aid, because this aid is not just for supporting Pakistan's economy. It is also for fighting the war in the tribal areas, and the Americans cannot afford to disrupt that war. So I think both sides face a difficult situation, and they will have to come out with some solution which satisfies both.
Anwar Iqbal, many thanks indeed. French President Nicolas Sarkozy has grounded all of his cabinet ministers. We'll be telling you why their flights of fancy mean that they'll be holidaying in France this year. Plus, anger in Sri Lanka over the price of food and the detention of a war hero.
We have more flooding to come across northern Australia over the next couple of days. I suspect the main focus for the heaviest rainfall will be just around the northernmost parts of Queensland, pushing up into the Gulf of Carpenter area, just around the Cape York Peninsula. Plenty of shower clouds showing up here, and you can see this long chain of clouds just running through central parts down into South Australia. Heavy showers are going to persist here. Could even see some very wet weather coming towards Alice Springs. Temperatures here at around 34 Celsius. Showers or longer spells of rain pulling away from Western Australia. Still nowhere near the bushfires that we've seen earlier on this week. And notice some rather heavy rain very close to the northwest. Hopefully that should stay offshore. Brighter skies gradually pushing back in as we move towards the weekend. That wet weather will make its way down towards western parts of South Australia. Heavy showers making their way into the southeast as this rain just pushes high pressure out of the way, nudges down across Victoria. Same area of cloud and rain will bring some heavy downpours into southern parts of New Zealand over the next day or two. I think these will gradually make their way a little further northwards. Hopefully a window of drier, brighter weather to come for Friday. Temperatures in Auckland getting up to a pleasant 23 Celsius. Meanwhile, it's not looking too bad across Southeast Asia. Still a few showers into Indonesia, yes, but largely fine and dry for Western Borneo and right the way across Malaysia.
Qatar Tourism Authority invites you to the 8th Doha Jewellery and Watches Exhibition from the 15th to the 20th of February 2011 at the Doha Exhibition Centre. Sponsored by Qatar National Bank and Qatar Airways.
On the next Riz Khan show, as speculation mounts over the return of ousted former President Aristide, we discuss Haiti's unexpected political twists. Riz Khan at this time on Al Jazeera.
Hello again, this is Al Jazeera. Adrian Finnegan with you here in Doha. Let's just give you a recap now of what's been happening in Egypt over the past few hours. Thousands of people are continuing to protest in Cairo against the country's government, and now workers have gone on strike too, unhappy at pay and conditions. A group of political and business leaders known as the Wise Men have started talks with the Vice President about transferring power away from Hosni Mubarak. And within the past half hour, Egypt's foreign minister has criticised the US for what he says were unhelpful comments at the start of the protests. Well, as the protests continue, Egyptians have begun to count the cost of the uprising, and many are mourning those who've died in the clashes. From Cairo, Andrew Simmons reports.
Hassan had much to offer the old Egypt, even more to the new one. His desk and books where he left them. A graduate laboratory technician, he taught English in his spare time. Now a martyr in this neighborhood. Mustafa El Sawi was 25 years old. And his brother Ehab, more determined now to spend days and nights in Tahrir Square, despite his injury from a battle round. In the daily throng of protesters, he carries deeper hatred of the regime that killed his unarmed brother.
Unlike the peace and calm right now, the scene was one of confrontation. Mustafa was at this precise spot. His friends say he lifted his right forefinger and uttered the Muslim testimony of faith. And it was at that point that automatic gunfire broke out, peppering his chest and his neck.
Mustafa died before he reached hospital, the finger still showing his faith in life and death. He was killed in the day of rage, Friday, January the 28th. A young man and woman the same age died alongside him. He had told his parents the day before he was going to take to the streets. They had warned him to be careful.
All those deaths won't be in vain. My son's death is just one drop in a sea of blood.
Mustafa decided to take part in the demonstrations to fight for freedom, justice and pride. The kind of pride that the Egyptian people had forgotten about.
He was a very well-mannered boy. He took care of me. He always looked after me and always made sure I took my medicine.
Ehab says he's proud of his brother. He's one face in a multitude of people with the same message. We won't leave. To Ehab, his mother and his father, the intelligent young man who was also a gifted singer, died for one cause only: the downfall of Mubarak soon and nothing less. Andrew Simmons, Al Jazeera, Cairo.
Well, elsewhere in the country, 3 protesters have died and around 100 others wounded in clashes with police in the western province of New Valley. Anti-Mubarak demonstrations began there on Monday night. Several people were also injured and were taken to hospital. Reports say that it was the first serious clashes in the province since the 28th of January, when a day of wrath was observed. Now to Italy, where prosecutors say that Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi should go on trial immediately. That's over allegations of sex with an underage woman and abusing his power to cover it up. Lawrence Lee reports.
He may be one of the great survivors, but there's no doubting Silvio Berlusconi has reason to worry. Even given his ability to hold on to power despite all kinds of allegations of financial or personal impropriety in the past, there now appears to be so much evidence linking him firstly to a young showgirl known as Ruby, and then to sex games known as bunga bunga parties, that prosecutors believe they've got enough against him to have a criminal trial straight away. Like everything to do with Berlusconi, this case has split Italy, this time apparently with the young saying he deserves everything he gets, but older people prepared to forgive the aging politician.
This is absolutely just.
I think it's incredible that people still don't understand what kind of person he is. He must start paying the price for what he's done.
The best thing would be for Berlusconi to resign and then a transitional government to come in to work on electoral law.
Well, he loves what he does. He should just do it a bit more cleverly, like many others do.
Berlusconi's been lucky in that his opponents have been unable to capitalise on his problems in the past. Now, though, they smell blood.
We want the judges to make the truth come out, and we want him to go to trial. That's the only thing we ask. Then, if he's innocent, God bless him, and in a couple of weeks, we will know the truth.
Still, you don't get to hold on to power for as long as Berlusconi has without being able to face down unpleasant allegations. And so the obvious response has been to claim a smear campaign.
It's just embarrassing. It's disgusting and shameful. The thing about these trials is that they're false trials. The accusations are completely without proof. Everyone knows that they're just about a negative media campaign.
No doubt many people, not just in Italy, view Berlusconi as a misogynist and political dinosaur. All the same, he's been in court before. It'd be unwise to write him off just yet. Lawrence Lee, Al Jazeera.
Former Liberian President Charles Taylor has boycotted his war crimes trial at The Hague for the second day running. The proceedings have now been adjourned while the judges decide whether to allow an appeal by Taylor's legal team. His lawyers are angry that a defence document has been ruled inadmissible. Taylor denies 11 counts of war crimes and crimes against humanity during the Sierra Leone civil war in the 1990s.
You know what this is about, their denial of our final brief? It's about simply this. You're not running this court, Mr. Taylor. We are. And we're going to show you who's in charge by rejecting your final brief. So this is about ego, not justice. And I really don't see that this kind of personalized politics has any part to play in a court of law.
President Nicolas Sarkozy has banned members of his cabinet from holidaying abroad. That's following revelations that his Prime Minister and Foreign Minister went on free holidays in crisis-hit North African countries. One of those trips included a journey by plane that was loaned by Egypt's Hosni Mubarak. Rory Challens reports.
Prime Minister Francois Fillon would probably like to escape France at the moment. So too would Foreign Minister Michel Alliot-Marie.